Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at Noon.
UK police are now asking the public to help them find a shooter who fired a pellet gun outside a dorm.
Investigators are looking into what caused a massive fire at a Lexington home.
Yeah, things look pretty good outside. You're getting some peaks of sunshine and not much rain within these clouds. Throughout the next few days, we're pretty dry and warm, and then here comes that big blast of cold air toward late week. I'll really jot down the timeline on that coming up. WKYT News at Noon starts right now.
And good afternoon from WKYT News. I'm Barbara Bailey.
And I'm Bill Bryant. Here's what's happening at noon. Police are hoping newly released surveillance pictures will help them find the gunman who fired shots on the University of Kentucky campus over the weekend.
Witnesses say they heard gunfire around 10 o'clock last night at the Kerwin-Blanding complex. Police now say it was a pellet gun. WKYT's Mark Barber is live at UK with the very latest on the search. It's our top story at noon. Mark?
Good morning, Bill and Rebecca. The UK police chief says they found a pellet gun near Baldwin Hall this morning. Investigators believe the shooter tossed it there after firing 2 to 3 shots outside a dorm. Now, police are hoping that the public will help them find the shooter today. UK police have released the surveillance photo of a person of interest that they'd like to question. They believe he could be the man who fired an airsoft gun outside a dorm in the Kerwin and Blanding complex around 10 o'clock last night. We're told the shooter was in a group of 6 to 8 college-age men. At this time, UK police do not know if they are students. Investigators tell us they don't know who or what they were shooting at. After the pellet gun was fired, police say the group split up and took off. Canines and police searched for the men for about 2 hours, but when they didn't find anyone, the all clear was given to students. Police say the 2 students who heard the pellet gun go off believed there was a campus shooting.
2 witnesses saw this also said that they heard the gun go off and then heard it hit something. So they felt like it was a real situation.
Tell us the shooter will most likely face charges of wanton endangerment and terroristic threatening. Now, coming up at 12:30, hear about the tense moments from a student's viewpoint when police told them to stay in their dorms as they searched for that shooter. Live in Lexington, Mark Barber, WKYT.
Mark, thank you. There were no injuries, and again, officers are asking anyone who recognizes the person of interest to call them. The shooting on campus was the 7th shooting incident in Lexington over the weekend. 4 people were hit by gunfire. Friday night, a man was critically injured when he was shot on Bainbridge Court. 2 hours later, another man was shot on Charles Avenue. Then early Saturday, police say a man was shot on Old Georgetown Street. Sunday morning, about 15 shots were fired at the Genesis Center on Georgetown Road, hitting several cars and sending 1 person to the hospital. So far, no arrests have been made in any of these cases.
A Lexington family is lucky to have escaped overnight from their burning house. It broke out around 3 o'clock this morning on Vale Drive. That's off Harrodsburg Road near the Jessamine County line. Fire crews had trouble getting the flames under control, and the home is destroyed. WKYT's Whitney Wetzel has reaction from neighbors.
Fire crews have been on scene for most of the morning hours, first fighting smoke and flames, then cleaning up mounds of debris.
My bedroom is directly across from theirs, and I heard the popping sound, and I jumped up and ran to my window, and I saw this house just ablaze with fire.
When fire crews got to this Vale Drive home, they could see smoke and flames coming from the 2nd floor.
Once you got in the attic, with the size of the building that it was just a matter of chasing it essentially from one side to the other.
Extra crews were called to the scene for more manpower because many of the firefighters were worn out from battling the flames. It took them a few hours to get the fire under control.
We'd get the fire knocked down where the car had caught back fire. It would flare back up, so it was a constant battle to try to keep it down, to keep the fire from under the feet of the guys working on the 2nd floor.
Firefighters tell us a couple and their children were sleeping inside when this fire started. The homeowners were eventually able to call 911 for help.
I thought to myself, are they all out of the house? Is everybody out?
No one inside this home or any of the firefighters were injured in this fire. In Lexington, Whitney Wetzel, WKYT.
Whitney, thank you. Investigators believe the fire started in the garage. So far, they have no reason to believe that it was intentionally set. Investigators think a late-night fire in Lexington was intentionally set, though. It happened around 10:30 last night on East Loudon Avenue near Maple Avenue. Firefighters say the fire burned a hole in the back of a shed that was filled with mostly trash. It destroyed it. Investigators say that they have reason to believe, again, it is a case of arson.
Air travelers in the Bluegrass are still feeling the impact of Friday's sabotage of an air traffic control center in Illinois. An attempted suicide and fire near Chicago led to the cancellation of thousands of flights. WKYT's Rebecca Smith is at the live desk now with a look at where things stand now. Rebecca?
Well, here locally, it's United Airlines and American Airlines that are having some big trouble at Bluegrass Airport. 4 cancellations total, 2 arrivals, 2 departures, 2 for this afternoon and 2 for this evening. Now, the problems getting in and out of O'Hare Airport in Chicago are expected to last all week long, possibly into next weekend. This all started Friday when an attempted suicide and fire a little west of Chicago created a ripple effect. Numerous flights were canceled at Lexington's airport over the weekend, creating quite the hassle for travelers.
I think the question of allowing one man in and being able to do this damage is really a thing that has to be investigated very closely afterwards.
And the FAA is replacing the entire central computer network at the control center where that act of sabotage, as it's being called, canceled more than 2,000 flights. 500 were canceled at O'Hare on Sunday alone. At the live desk, Rebecca Smith, WKYT.
Rebecca, thank you. The National Air Traffic Controllers Association says this incident is the most challenging it's encountered since 9/11.
Well, that nice weekend trend continues today with beautiful skies and summer-like temperatures out there. But some big changes are coming when we hit the end of the week. Let's go to WKYT meteorologist Micah Harris live at our First Alert Weather Center with a look ahead. Micah?
Yeah, and just like Sunday, we really had a lot of sunshine. It was a beautiful day, but we did have 1 or 2 showers outside down in the far south and southeastern zones, so it really wasn't a washout, and neither is today. It's one of those days that you get 1 or 2 showers popping up. That's about it. So you see one lone shower across the whole state of Kentucky there on First Alert Defender Live Radar. Coming in the southern portions there of Carter County, eventually sliding into Elliott. Sandy Hook heads up. Newfoundland heads up. You'll be seeing this going to be crossing over busy highway, Highway 7 here, coming up in about 30 to 45 minutes if it sticks together. It's not much to it, but you will get one of those showers move into Elliott County. Moorhead 73, we're at 78, a pair of those. Lexington, Frankfort, Midway, work your way southbound 77 in the London-Corbin area. So it's heating up pretty rapidly, and we'll be in the 80s as we hit the afternoon. Lower 80s expected, and it looks nice and dry for most. Slight chance of rain. We head toward tomorrow. It's pretty much the same story all over again until we hit late week. That's when some big changes come in with that cold air, and I'll show you how low we go coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Micah, thank you. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is looking into a petition alleging that older Toyota Corollas can accelerate unexpectedly at low speeds and cause crashes. The inquiry covers about 1.69 million cars from 2006 to 2010 model years. In a letter to the agency, an unidentified driver said that a Corolla surged at low speeds several times and the brakes failed to stop the car. The NTSB will decide whether to open a formal investigation. Well, the dip in temperatures is sending gas prices down. According to GasBuddy.com, the national average for a gallon of regular dropped slightly last week to $3.38. And this trend is expected to continue. Oil experts predict prices will dip below $3 this fall. Here in Kentucky, the average is in line with national prices at $3.39 a gallon. The lowest prices we found, $3 in Owensboro, the highest $3.79 near Louisville.
The official start of the UK basketball season is now just weeks away, and the Big Blue Nation is already gearing up for another big event. The Blue-White Scrimmage will be Monday, October 27th. Tickets are now available at Ticketmaster.com or at the Rupp Arena box office. Seats are $10 for lower level and $5 for the upper level. Big Blue Madness will tip off on Friday, October 17th at Rupp Arena. Seems more real all the time, doesn't it, as we get closer?
Yes, it does.
Well, Hollywood's former most eligible bachelor is officially off the market.
Kentucky native George Clooney made his marriage official this morning at a civil ceremony in Venice. Tina Kraus takes a look.
Crowds clamored for another glimpse of George Clooney and his bride as they arrived at City Hall in Venice for a civil marriage.
She was dressed so nicely, she looked great, and the whole city stopped to watch them. It was so nice.
The quick ceremony made the marriage official. It capped off a fairy tale wedding weekend for 53-year-old Clooney and 36-year-old Amal Alamuddin. The longtime bachelor who swore he would never marry again tied the knot with the Beirut-born lawyer at a 7-star hotel on Saturday. They didn't try to keep the wedding a secret, posing for the paparazzi and tourists as they rode through Venice's Grand Canal.
George Clooney is one of those Americans who really loves Italy.
The happy couple sped away in a wooden boat called Amore, love in Italian. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
Now, Clooney said he would never marry again after his 1993 divorce from actress Talia Balsam. He reportedly made a $100,000 bet with Michelle Pfeiffer that he would stay single.
Guess it's time to pay up, right? President Obama is blaming an intelligence breakdown for the rise of ISIS in Iraq and Syria.
We'll have his reaction next on Kentucky's #1 Midday News.
Also ahead on WKYT, a political power couple can now add grandparents to their long resumes. We'll have more on the Clinton family's newest addition coming up on WKYT News at noon. Welcome back to WKYT News at noon. The U.S. carried out more airstrikes on ISIS targets in Syria this morning. It comes after President Obama talked with 60 Minutes about the situation in Syria and Iraq and admitted that some mistakes have been made.
The president says they underestimated the threat from Islamic State militants and overestimated the ability and will of Iraq's army to fight. The president told Steve Cross ISIS became stronger during Syria's 2-year civil war.
I think our head of the intelligence community, Jim Clapper, has acknowledged that I think they underestimated what had been taking place in Syria.
The president insists he will not put American combat troops on the ground to secure the region. But House Speaker John Boehner says if allies or local forces can't get the job done, the U.S. may have no choice. U.S. officials say they expect Afghanistan's new president to sign a security agreement to allow about 10,000 American troops to stay in the country after the international combat mission ends December 31st. A new president was sworn in today, replacing Hamid Karzai. This was the country's first democratic transfer of power since 2001. Meanwhile, several people are dead after a bomb attack during the swearing-in ceremony. Investigators say 2 bombs went off on a road connecting the country's main airport with the presidential palace.
An American doctor who was exposed to the Ebola virus while volunteering in Sierra Leone has been admitted to a Washington, D.C. area hospital. The patient has not been identified, but doctors at the National Institutes of Health say the physician is in a special isolation unit out of an abundance of caution. Health officials say the patient will be enrolled in a clinical study, but the doctor has not necessarily contracted the virus. Well, former President Bill Clinton and his wife, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, are celebrating their first grandchild.
Their daughter, Chelsea, gave birth to a baby girl Friday. She announced the news on Twitter this weekend saying, quote, "Mark and I are full of love, awe, and gratitude as we celebrate the birth of our daughter, Charlotte." The Clintons tweeted their happiness as well. Chelsea and her husband opted to wait for the birth to find out the gender of the baby. A little surprise.
All right, keep it here on WKYT News. Several southern Kentucky businesses are cleaning up from an overnight fire.
We'll show you the damage coming up in a report on WKYT News at 12:30.
Now, your zone-by-zone forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris and First Alert Defender.
We're looking outside at the moment, and boy, does it look good. I mean, some of us are dealing with clouds, but a lot of us looking like this. Beautiful outside, a lot of sunshine to be had. And like I said, some of us have clouds, and that's really over toward the eastern zones and southeastern zones. We talked about it this morning where the best likelihood of actually seeing some rain, which won't be much, but just at least the possibility is over toward the east, southeast. We have one lone shower, and it's slowly but surely falling apart. If you watch the trend on this, it's crossing over into Elliott County as we speak, now moving down toward the southeast. If it does stick together, it'll cross over Highway 7 just north of Sandy Hook, I'd say in the next 30-45 minutes, if it does stay together, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Nonetheless, there is some rain over toward the east. Now check this out. Did you know this? It's almost been 2 weeks since we have picked up rain here in Lexington. Last time was back on the 16th, and it doesn't look like we're going to see much rain around here until we hit Friday. So it'll be over 2 weeks before we actually pick up rain. We had a very wet August. We even had one day here in September that was really wet. We picked up roughly 3 inches. And now we can't even buy rain. So that's just the way it goes. That's the life here in Kentucky. Mainly dry there across the region. We're around 80 degrees. Work your way southbound. Low 80s expected. I believe most of us will be in the lower 80s when it's all said and done. Now, the small chance of rain you see here on the screen is actually not going to be for the western zones. It's really for the eastern zones. Williamsburg, Barberville, work your way down into, say, Bell County, Middlesboro. That's your best opportunity in that location. In this region, yeah, it looks like everybody has at least about a 30% chance. So a few showers are not out of the possibility there down toward the south and southeast. Up toward the north, I think we're done with that. Sun and clouds the rest of the afternoon. We'll sit there in the lower 80s. Now, if some of us actually get some of these clouds hanging around, you might get a sunset like this. This is Alexander Cox from Whitley City. Just a beautiful shot right there. You got to love that. Put it on my Facebook page. 7-day forecast. Next few days, just fine. We're nice and dry, lower 80s. Go toward Thursday. Late rain comes in the forecast. When I say late, I'm more talking about the evening and night. Friday, opening day for Keeneland. Yeah, showers and thunderstorms will be around. That's your best chance of rain before it clears on out for the weekend for the football game. And also there for the first weekend, fall meet, that is, of Keeneland. Very cool temperatures. Lower 60s is what we're talking about. Maybe even some upper 50s on Saturday. Incredible, yeah.
Are we ready for that yet?
Yeah, here we go.
I'll tell you. All right.
We can plan all week.
Yeah, right.
We'll be ready.
You'll be ready.
Coming back in just a moment, a former Wildcat steps up in a big way. And what Kentucky is planning on doing when the Gamecocks come to town on Saturday. Dave Baker's coming up next with sports. And let's check stocks heading into afternoon trading. The major market indicators are all pointing downward at midday.
It's going to be cool, and the folks at Kentucky say Saturday night in Commonwealth is going to be a blackout as the head ball coach brings his South Carolina team that's lost twice at home to Commonwealth Stadium on Saturday. This past weekend, the UK offense that it had been clicking was challenged to find a rhythm, but the defense stepped up to give the Cats their first SEC win in 18 tries. The Wildcats limited Vandy to 139 total yards while coming up with 3 picks. Mark Stoops, that former defensive coordinator, expects that kind of performance every time from his defense.
We expect them to play well. You know, we have a chance to be good in all phases. We know we're not overwhelmingly great in any phase, but if we play together and all sides play to our capabilities, we have a chance to win a lot of games. If we don't, then we won't. You know, that's like a lot of teams. So we have to put it together.
Yesterday in the NFL, the Green Bay offense made a surprise appearance in this season, and it was a big day for the former Wildcat. Randall Cobb just before the half, Packers down by a field goal. Rodgers to Cobb, 22 yards. That gives Green Bay the lead heading into the locker room. Move on to the fourth now. Packers up 31-17. And how about that same combination? Rodgers to Cobb. Cobb with 7 catches, 113 yards and 2 scores, and the Packers' 38-17 win over the Bears. Derek Jeter playing the final game of his illustrious Major League career, and the Red Sox, boy, they did a nice job with their honors yesterday. Top of the third, 2-0 Yankees. Man on third for Jeter, who hits the high chopper to third. That is an infield single to score Ichiro Suzuki. Yankees send a pinch runner in for Jeter, who then gets a well-deserved ovation. Tip of the cap to the Fenway faithful, and the Yankees get the win 9-5. The captain's illustrious career comes to an end. 4 drivers eliminated Sunday as the chase for the Sprint Cup rolled into Dover, Delaware, lap 146. Kevin Harvick dominated the first half of the race. He would lead a race-high 223 laps, but trouble for Harvick on lap 253, flat tire. He would wind up finishing 13th, lap 306. Jeff Gordon showing his staying power And look at him muscle around on the high side. He goes by Brad Keselowski taking the lead. And on the final lap, it's Gordon taking the win at the AAA 400 at Dover. Coming up just a little bit later, much more from Mark Stoops and his players as the Cats get set for the Gamecocks. That comes your way when we return at 4. But just ahead, Barb and Bill are back with more WKYT News at noon in a minute.